So here we pass in the first data wrapper, and this function will create a new fruit, then call the append function, which receive a pointer, the address. So it will take the address to the new created fruit and cast it to void. So since it is a void pointer, the data field will be set to the address of the fruit. Then we set the field type to F to tell that the data stored in the wrapper is an actual fruit. So we cast to void, and when we want to read the data field, we're going to cast it back to fruit or back to person, depending on the type field. So this is our fruit function. Let's move on the person. I'm going to add the prototypes here, the prototypes. I'm going to add the prototypes. Yes, void print fruit, so we can print some fruits. This function knows how to print a fruit, and this function knows how to append a fruit to the list. And I need to add some formatting. Okay, format the document. And now we've created a struct. This is one of our data types. Let's create another data type for the utility functions for the person data type. I'm going to say person. Let's move this here. Okay. So the person struct has the field name, age, and height. So what I'm going to do is to create a function that can allocate a person. Create person. So the create person should knows how to create a person. It will receive the name, the age, and the height field. So we're going to create a new person called the malloc function. Before we call the malloc function, we have to include the std_lib library. And now we're ready. Size of person type. Then here we say new person, the age field equal age. The value will be copied into the age, and the height will be copied into the height field. Then what else? The name field is a string, so we can copy the strings, the content of the name field inside the array. So new person, we call the str copy function. New person name, we copy the name inside. So now we have this thing person. Now let's create another function called print person. So void print person. This function knows how to print a person. So we need to pass in a person. Before we use the printf function, we need to include the stdio library. Okay, then use the print function, print. We're going to say person, then space, and line break. And I'm going to say printf. So this time we're going to print the name of the person. I'm going to copy this and pass it twice. Then the age and the height of the person. So these fields are of type integer. And here for the field name, we're gonna say person, name, person, age, and person height. So this print person knows how to print a person. What's the next step? The next step is add a person to the list. So we're gonna call the function called append person. So for the append person, we need to pass in the first data wrapper. So we have data wrapper type P first. Then we pass in the name, the age, and the height of the person. Let's create a new person and say new person. So create person. We pass in the name, the age, and the height. Then we call the append function. We have to say star sign. Okay. Then we call the append function. We pass in the first wrapper. Then we pass in the reference for the person. Then we say the type of the wrapper it's gonna create is a P, a P, which means it will hold a data field called person. So actually, I wanna make it obvious here that this is going to be casted into a void pointer. The same thing goes for the fruit. So we're holding an address inside these variables so we can cast them into void pointers. Where is the person? Okay, now we can add any type of data inside the wrapper. So we create the wrappers, then add new data items. Next, what we can do is to add these prototypes and see what's the next step. I'm just going to copy and paste the prototypes. So we have this. We have this. And we also have the append person. Okay. So we're almost ready. We are almost ready. But there is one step missing. This is we're going to add some utility functions. For example, the print all function. So the print all function will look through all the data wrappers and check the field type, the type field. So if it is a type person, it will call the print person. But if it is a type fruit, it will call the print fruit function. So instead of saying that since the data field is not, it is an address this time. So we're going to say if cursor type equal P, that means we're dealing with a data field that is a person type. So we're gonna say print person. Then we pass in cursor data. So what we can do, we can cast this to a person type. Like so. Else if the cursor, so the cursor here represents a wrapper. So if the wrapper type is, let's say F, that means we need to call the print fruit function because the print fruit function knows how to print a fruit. So here we're going to cast the void pointer to a fruit, then call the print fruit function. Then after that, just to make things a bit more cooler, I'm going to add some line breaks here. And I think that's it for now. And also here, I'm just going to copy. We can just copy this code and pass it in here. So this time, instead of using next, we're going to use underscore priv. And what else left? I think that's all for now. It's time to use these functions. And here the magic happens. So let's create our data wrapper, the first data wrapper. So we say data data wrapper type. I forgot to include the header file, so include main.h. So let's say data wrapper type. This will be the first data wrapper. I'm gonna set it to null. So we have different data structures. So we can say append person or append fruit. But in our case, I'm gonna say append fruit. And we pass in the first data wrapper. The name of the fruit is let's say strawberry or pineapple. The color of pineapple, we're gonna say yellow. The weight, it is an integer number. We're gonna say 55. Let's append other fruits. For example, I'm gonna say append fruits, append fruits. We can even mix them up. We can say append person, append person. So we're gonna say John, age 28, height, let's say 1, or let's say 2. And for the fruit, I'm gonna change them to banana. Banana also is yellow and orange, the color, or let's say orange juice. We're gonna say orange color. Let's add other fruit again, just to make the things more interesting. So what we are doing, we now see in a list, we can add multiple or different data types. They're not the same chart, they're not the same data types, but still we can add them in the same list. So I'm going to change this to Apple. And for the Apple, I'm gonna say pink for the color. And here, instead of person, I'm gonna say, instead of John, we're gonna say Bauer, 25, height 1. And for the person again, Christina, 18, and height 3. So here we've been able to add fruit persons in the list, and we can print the list. We can say print all. Then we pass in uh, the first data wrapper. So the data wrapper, the print all will look in each of the data wrappers, check their type, and call the corresponding, or let's say the corresponding functions. Let's say, okay, GCC, compile all the files. Oh, we're having some problems here. There are problems in the utils function. There is some errors. There are some errors on the line 39. Okay, we have the print of function. I'm going to start with the first example. Oh, what is the problem? What's the problem? There is an error in the util function on line 39. That means something is wrong here. So it says extern include files, print all reverse. I thought that we added that somewhere here. Okay, let's check it. I think this is kind of the last step. Oh, true. There is no print all functions. So let's add these things in the prototypes. Now we have the void print all function, and we also have print all reverse. I'm going to clear the screen and compile the code. Okay. The fruit online, it's a old style parameter declaration in prototype definition. Oh, it is because of the casting. So I'm going to get rid of this. It seems like this is not compatible with the current the C version. So the casting should be done in an implicit way. So when I say print person and print fruit, let's compile the code again. Oh, we have this problem coming in. Expected at the end of input. So it seems like there is a semicolon missing somewhere. Let's look for it. So go on line 21. Okay, print all reverse. So maybe this is due to the fact we have some semicolons missing in the header file.
What about for, yeah, header files? There's some missing columns.
It seems
Main.h
like here also we have it. Some missing columns.
for print all.
Yes, there was some missing columns
Okay.
for the print all. Okay, let's compile the code again. Oh, no problem. It was because of these missing things. Thanks God. Now let's run this program and see. This is now what we get. So it's print fruit, fruit, person, fruit, fruit, person, person. So basically this is the power of lists. So we can use list to hold different data types in them. They may not be the same kind. They could also be the same kind. But this is an example, and that's why in Python list you can store um, mixed data types. You can store integers, doubles, um, dictionaries in list. It doesn't matter because they figure out how to determine when you're using you're looking through the list. There are ways to know what is the data type, and that's what we did in the print all function. Where is the print all function? Here. So in the print all function, the print all function will read the type of the data wrapper field and will check what kind of data the wrapper is currently holding, and it calls the appropriate function for that type of data. Let's call the print or reverse. So we had fruit at the start, but this time we're gonna have person as the start. Let's call that, compile the code and run it. So this time we have person, fruit, and it displays person name, age, height, person name, age, height, fruit, name, color, weight, fruit, name, color, weight. And that's it for the fruits and for the persons. We can add other data types. Is there any question on that? Uh, this is an example to show the powers or the reasons, one of the reasons we use list instead of arrays, because lists are very flexible in these kind of situations. For the fruit, we've got some problems with the weight, and all the weight are set to 0. Now, why? We have color, name, color, weight. In the main function, we have add fruit, name, color, weight. Okay, that's all for this session on list and double linked list. And I hope that we understood something.